Ryan O'Neal once seemed to have everything a man could dream of. He was Hollywood's golden boy after Love Story, and by his side was Farrah Fawcett, the woman every magazine called the most beautiful in the world. To fans, they were untouchable, the ultimate power couple who lived a life of glamour and romance. But behind the cameras, their love was turbulent, filled with breakups, reconciliations, and unspoken regrets. For decades, Ryan kept silent about the darkest truth of their relationship, and when he finally revealed it at the age of 82, it shocked everyone who thought they already knew their story. The image of perfection shattered, replaced by a devastating confession that changed how the world remembered them both. When audiences first met Ryan O'Neal in the early 1970s, he was more than just another handsome face in Hollywood. His breakout role in Love Story turned him into an overnight sensation, and the film itself became a cultural landmark. People quoted its lines, posters hung in dorm rooms, and Ryan became the actor every studio wanted to cast. His image was that of the romantic leading man who embodied youthful passion and heartbreak. At the same time, Farrah Fawcett was beginning her own meteoric rise. With her unforgettable smile, sun-kissed hair, and energy that seemed to light up every room, she became a household name almost instantly. Her iconic red swimsuit poster sold millions of copies, making her one of the most recognizable women on the planet. When Ryan and Farrah's paths crossed, the media wasted no time in branding them Hollywood royalty. To the public, they seemed like a perfect match. The charming movie star and the television darling whose careers symbolized a golden era of entertainment. Tabloids and magazines published photographs of them at premieres, on vacations and at high-profile parties. Their relationship looked like a fantasy, glamorous, exciting, and full of promise. For fans, Ryan and Farrah represented the idea that true love could exist even under the blinding lights of fame, but beneath the glittering surface, reality was far less simple. Their connection was undeniable, yet those who knew them personally began to notice tension. Farrah's rapid success made her a global icon, while Ryan's career faced the challenge of staying relevant in an industry already shifting. Both carried immense pressure, and their relationship soon became a battlefield between ambition, insecurity, and the overwhelming demands of celebrity. The cracks in their seemingly perfect romance had already started to appear, though the public only saw their picture-perfect smiles on magazine covers. For Ryan and Farrah, the 1970s were the decade that defined them as a couple. They were the dream pairing that captured imaginations, but they were also two strong individuals with very different needs. What looked like destiny was, in truth, the beginning of a love story filled with passion, chaos, and heartbreak. And while fans thought they were witnessing the rise of Hollywood's golden couple, the truth was far more complicated. What came next would reveal just how volatile their relationship truly was. From the outside, Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett's romance sparkled with the glamour of a Hollywood fairy tale. Yet those closest to them knew a very different story was unfolding behind closed doors. Their relationship, which stretched across nearly 3 decades, was anything but smooth. It was defined by passion and intensity, but also by arguments that could erupt without warning. Friends recalled how the couple could be inseparable one moment and at odds the next, often breaking apart only to reunite again as if no time had passed. Part of the volatility came from Ryan himself. By his own later admission, he struggled with jealousy and control. Farrah was not just admired, she was adored worldwide. Her image was on bedroom walls in glossy magazines and in television households every week. For Ryan, watching the world's fascination with the woman he loved was both a point of pride and a source of deep insecurity. Rumors of infidelity only added fuel to the fire, whether true or not, and their home life was often shaken by distrust. Farrah, determined to carve out a career beyond being the face on a poster, wanted to be taken seriously as an actress and often pushed against the limits Hollywood tried to place on her. That drive sometimes clashed with Ryan's own career struggles. While she was taking bold risks, he was navigating a series of ups and downs after his early blockbuster success. Instead of celebrating each other's victories, their relationship became a tug-of-war between ambition and resentment. Tabloids, always eager for drama, painted their love life as the ultimate soap opera. One week they were spotted together at a glamorous event. The next headlines shouted about a split. Fans could hardly keep up with the whirlwind, not realizing that this cycle of breaking up and making up had become the defining rhythm of their love. It was messy, exhausting, but magnetic. Neither Ryan nor Farrah could walk away for long, no matter how many times they tried. This pattern of volatility carried them well beyond the glitter of the 1970s into a new era where both their careers and their relationship would be tested in ways no one could have predicted. And just when it seemed they might finally have found peace, another shift changed the course of their story. By the early 1990s, the golden glow that once surrounded Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett had begun to fade. Hollywood had changed, and so had they. Ryan, once one of the most bankable leading men, struggled to land roles that matched the promise of his early career. Audiences had moved on, and he often admitted he didn't know how to reinvent himself for a new generation of films. Meanwhile, Farrah was charting a different path. She shed her reputation as just a television star and poster icon, proving she had the range and dedication to take on serious dramatic roles. Her performances in stage productions and television movies began earning critical respect, even if it meant stepping away from the glamorous image that had first made her famous. This difference in momentum created a growing gap between them. Farrah sought depth, meaning, and artistic fulfillment, while Ryan wrestled with professional frustration and personal demons. Friends noted that their lives seemed to be heading in opposite directions, Farrah evolving, Ryan clinging to the past. That imbalance often turned their relationship into a battlefield of unmet expectations. By the late 1990s, the pair officially separated. After nearly 2 decades of turbulence, it seemed their story had finally reached its end. Yet even in separation, Ryan couldn't let go of what they'd shared. Years later, he admitted he wasn't the partner Farrah deserved, confessing that immaturity, pride, and selfishness had played a role in pushing her away. In interviews, he was brutally honest about how he failed to value her when he still had the chance. "She was the love of my life," he said, "and I let her slip away." But while the world assumed their romance had ended for good, their bond was not so easily erased. What no one realized at the time was that destiny had another chapter in store for Ryan and Farrah, one that would bring them back together under circumstances more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. In 2006, the story of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett took a devastating turn. Farrah, the woman whose face had once symbolized health, beauty, and vitality, was diagnosed with cancer. The news sent shockwaves around the world. Fans who had adored her since her Charlie's Angels days watched in disbelief as she faced the toughest fight of her life. What made the story even more powerful was that Ryan, despite years of separation, arguments, and regret, was suddenly right back by her side. Their reunion wasn't born of Hollywood glamour, but of necessity, loyalty, and love. Ryan, once accused of being too self-absorbed, took on the role of caretaker. He accompanied Farrah to treatments, shielded her from invasive media when he could, and tried to provide comfort in a battle that was both brutal and public. For him, it wasn't just about supporting her physically. It was a chance to repair what had been broken, to prove that despite everything, his love for her had never truly faded. Farrah, determined to maintain control over her own story, decided to share her journey with the world. In 2009, her documentary, Farrah's Story, aired, offering an unflinching look at her treatments, her struggles, and her courage. The special drew millions of viewers, many of whom were stunned by Farrah's openness. Once seen only as a glamorous starlet, she now revealed herself as a fighter, vulnerable, raw, and profoundly human. And through it all, Ryan was there. His presence was undeniable, his devotion plain to see. For those who had followed their roller coaster romance for decades, this chapter was both heartbreaking and redemptive. It seemed as though life had stripped away the drama and forced them to face what truly mattered. Ryan later admitted that those years at her side were among the most meaningful of his life. They were not about fame or fortune, but about love in its purest, most selfless form. As powerful as their reunion was, Its ending devastated Ryan in ways from which he would never recover and set the stage for the confession he would make years later. On June 25, 2009, the world lost Farrah Fawcett at the age of 62 after a long and public battle with cancer that had shown her incredible strength and vulnerability. For Ryan O'Neal, her death was more than the loss of a cultural icon. It was the most personal heartbreak of his life. After years of turbulence, reconciliations, and distance, he had finally found his way back to her side, only to lose her for good. The day Farrah passed, Ryan's grief was unmistakable. He spoke candidly about the void her absence left, calling her the love of his life and admitting that no one could ever take her place. In one interview, his voice broke as he described their final moments together, saying they had made peace with their past and, in some way, found each other again before the end. It was bittersweet closure, one that left him grateful for their time together, but consumed by the pain of what had been lost. To the public, their love story had always seemed like a whirlwind of passion and drama, but in those final weeks, Ryan's devotion became undeniable. He was no longer the Hollywood playboy of the 1970s or the frustrated actor of the 1990s. He was simply a man stripped bare, mourning the woman he had always loved. Farrah's funeral, attended by close friends and family, became a symbol of just how deeply she had touched those around her. Yet what shocked fans most was not just Ryan's grief, but what he later revealed. He confessed that he had planned to ask Farrah to marry him during her final days, but the moment slipped away. He said he had carried the ring, ready to propose, but circumstances never allowed it to happen. For a man who had built his life on charm and bravado, it was a devastating admission that he had waited too long to give her what she had deserved all along. But Ryan's story did not end there. As time passed, he revealed even more about his regrets, his failures, and the painful truth that haunted him well into his 80s. In his later years, he rarely spoke publicly about his personal life, but when he did, his words carried the weight of a man haunted by loss. By then, he no longer hid behind Hollywood bravado. He admitted openly that his greatest regret was not marrying Farrah Fawcett when he had the chance. In interviews, his voice often cracked as he spoke about how selfishness, pride, and immaturity had kept him from giving her the commitment she wanted. Ryan confessed that he had always assumed Farrah would be there. Their cycle of breaking up and reconciling had created an illusion of permanence, a belief that no matter how bad things got, they would always find their way back to each other. But when illness struck and time ran out, that illusion shattered. The proposal he had planned never happened, and the ring he carried remained a silent symbol of a love that ended without closure. "I lost the love of my life," he said, "and I will live with that regret until my last day." For fans, the confession was devastating. For decades, they had watched the couple's romance play out in headlines, cheering their reunions and lamenting their breakups. But hearing Ryan finally acknowledge the depth of his regret reframed their entire story. It was no longer just a tale of passion and drama, but one of mistakes that could never be undone. A man who realized too late that pride had cost him everything. His honesty struck a chord because it revealed something deeply human. Beneath the fame and glamour, Ryan was just another person who had let love slip away. His vulnerability brought fans closer to the truth than ever before. Yet his regrets did not end with Farrah. In reflecting on his past, Ryan also faced difficult questions about his role as a father and the fractures within his family. His heartbreak over Farrah was only one part of a larger story marked by broken relationships and painful reckonings. His relationship with his daughter, Tatum O'Neal, from his first marriage, had long been famously strained. Though they once shared the spotlight when Tatum won an Academy Award as a child, their bond crumbled under the pressures of fame, personal struggles, and years of unresolved conflict. For decades, Ryan O'Neal and his daughter Tatum barely spoke, both acknowledging in interviews that hurtful words and long silences had defined much of their relationship. Then there was Redmond O'Neal, the son he shared with Farrah. Redmond's life was marked by turmoil, legal troubles, and battles with addiction that often made headlines. Farrah had expressed deep worry about his future, especially during her illness. Ryan later admitted that he felt he had failed Redmond, that he hadn't provided the stability or guidance a father should. For him, his son's struggles were a painful reflection of the chaos that had shadowed his own life and choices. These family fractures weighed heavily on Ryan. His confessions about Farrah were often intertwined with reflections on his children. He recognized that his immaturity and impulsive nature had not only cost him the woman he loved, but had also damaged his role as a parent. In one candid moment, he admitted, "I was not the father I should have been, and I was not the partner Farrah deserved." It was a rare moment of accountability that stripped away the Hollywood facade and revealed a man who saw his legacy as deeply flawed. For fans, these admissions were both tragic and illuminating. They showed that Ryan's regrets reached far beyond romance, touching the most personal parts of his life. And yet, through all his pain and reflection, his devotion to Farrah remained at the center of his story. Even when speaking about his children, he often circled back to her as though everything, his failures, regrets, and longings, were somehow tied to the love he had lost. But even in his darkest reflections, one undeniable truth emerged. The legacy of Ryan and Farrah's love story would continue to outshine the scandals and regrets. Despite the turbulence, heartbreak, and years of separation, the love story of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett has endured in the public's memory as one of Hollywood's most unforgettable romances. It was not a tale of perfect harmony, but of passion so fierce it survived decades of breakups, reconciliations, and even the shadow of illness. Fans continue to revisit their story not because it was flawless, but because it was real, messy, complicated, and deeply human. Farrah's legacy remains unmatched. She is remembered not just as the blonde beauty who graced posters and television screens, but as a woman of extraordinary strength who faced her illness with unflinching courage. Her documentary, Farrah's Story, captured her resilience and left a lasting mark on how the world viewed her. To many, she became a symbol of both vulnerability and bravery, proof that behind the glamorous image was a woman of remarkable depth. Ryan's legacy, though far more complicated, is forever tied to hers. In his later years, when he spoke of regret and love lost, he did so with an honesty that revealed just how much Farrah had defined his life. His words stripped away the image of the Hollywood playboy and revealed a man who, despite fame and fortune, measured his existence by one relationship. Fans saw not a movie star, but a man who had loved, lost, and carried that loss until the end. Their romance remains etched into Hollywood history because it defied easy explanation. It was not just about beauty or success, but about the raw, unpredictable force of two people who could not let go of each other, even when everything around them seemed to pull them apart. It was about love that endured through chaos and, in the end, became a story of redemption. For all his missteps, Ryan O'Neal made one thing clear in his final years. Farrah Fawcett was the love of his life, and her absence left a void nothing could ever fill. Their story reminds us that some bonds, however flawed, remain unbreakable. And while Ryan carried regret, he also carried the truth, a truth that forever sealed their place as one of the most legendary and heartbreaking love stories Hollywood has ever known. Ryan O'Neal's confession at 82 was more than just a personal admission. It was the final chapter of a love story the world had watched unfold for over 3 decades, a story filled with passion, mistakes, reconciliation, and regret. Farrah Fawcett remains an icon of beauty and courage, while Ryan's late-life honesty revealed the depth of his love and the pain of opportunities missed. Together, they left behind a legacy that was not perfect, but unforgettable. Their story forces us to confront a question. How often do we take love for granted, assuming there will always be more time? For Ryan, the answer came too late. For the rest of us, their story stands as a reminder that some chances never come again.